What's the darkest but nobody talks about it reality of the modern world? A lot of the stuff we buy is made by either slaves, children, or slave children. Nearly all the minerals that make your smartphone work come from incredibly poor, war-torn countries and most definitely slaves. And expose people to high levels of toxins that cause cancer and other diseases. But they don't have access to quality healthcare, so their death is that much more painful. Everyone is obsessed with celebrity pedophile rings, but almost all sexual abuse is perpetrated by a family member or neighbor. All the talk of, for the kids, does almost nothing to actually alleviate the problem. Only education and mental health care can stop the cycle. Worse, the fear-mongering of groomers outside of families have created a culture where adults are scared to even talk to kids and vice versa, meaning abuse victims have no adults they can turn to. As a dad to a 2-year-old and 6-year-old girl, it's a uniquely awful feeling having another parent give you that look like, "Stay the fuck away from my kid." We currently have enough food to feed everyone, yet 9 million people die from starvation annually. It's a distribution issue, not a quantitative one. There are orphanages full of unadoptable kids in several countries around the world. Why are they unadoptable? Because they were abandoned by, or rescued from, child sex trafficking. Deeply scarred emotionally and infected with STDs. Often more than one. Not many people look to adopt at all. Fewer still are willing to take on kids with disabilities. Fucked up and dying kids have virtually no chance at all. Other part. International adoption can run $50 to $100,000. People do want to adopt those kids. You need to have a lot of money to do so. Where does all that money go? I know it's not as simple as buy them a plane ticket and pick them up, but $50,000 to $100,000 is crazy. My friend is on the list for adopting a kid, but majority of the cost is paying for the workers that facilitate the adoption. It takes like 5 years for the process, and thus so much wages and overhead. Why it takes 5 years is beyond me. Endless consumerism is unsustainable. Most jobs are bullshit jobs, and people are addicted to buying useless plastic crap they don't need, and it's killing the planet. But put the brakes on all that, and everything also goes to shit. But the super rich will enjoy lavish lifestyles no matter what. I get this very specific depressing feeling every time I enter a Hobby Lobby. Like doom kinda. Like Jesus Christ, what kind of void are these joyless people in here filling with all the random shit they are buying? What is wrong with us? The inherited desire to create, except all we do is work and drive home, and drive to work, and drive home. US answer. The vast majority of wrongful convictions will never be overturned and people will die labeled with crimes they didn't commit. There's very likely innocent people on death row right now that we might never find out about. There just are. That's the thing, there's no way to enforce capital punishment without it happening. That people have become so reliant on media recommendations online that the majority of people are quickly becoming less and less capable of finding things for themselves and less discerning of new information brought to them. Americans don't really seem to have any idea how fucked up the cartel situation in Mexico is. It's wild that people have been getting mutilated Hellraiser style and being put on gruesome display for several years now, not to mention the extortion, intimidation, and plain old homicide, but people's response to that seems to be a half-hearted, "Oh, that sucks." There are political allies and our neighbors, but very few people seem to care about their plight. Yeah, had a friend who went to Mexico, met a dude that worked for a cartel, talked to me about how cool he was, that he was just a guy doing the only thing he could do to get by, etc., etc. My response was, right on. Well, just keep in mind, he might be cool, but if his boss requires your dick, your opinion of him might change real quick. Because good guy or not, bet he would rather be an alive a-hole than a dead cool guy. This is why I can't stand casual references to fun, drug use in our media. Even otherwise enlightened shows and movies make jokes about drugs. It should not be normalized, let alone glorified. As a high school teacher, even though it's totally off subject, I bring up to students every year that the real reason to not use drugs is the horrific chain of human suffering behind every dose. It's unfathomable. According to Pentagon statistics, an average of 10,000 men are sexually assaulted by other men in the US military each year. The vast majority are young, low-ranking men. Many claim assault on several occasions, and or by multiple male offenders. 1 in 3 men describe the assault as a form of hazing, bullying, or intimidation. As of 2019, the VA officially recognized 61,000 male veterans as being traumatized sexually during their time of service. Although the number of male sexual assault claims filed each year continues to climb, it's estimated that 4 out of 5 never get reported. Commercials on paid subscriptions. That the American middle class is struggling, but by global standards they live lives of unimaginable luxury and leisure. That the global median income is $3,900 a year, and that half the world's population controls only 2% of the world's wealth. This is what I've been thinking a lot, how lucky we are to live at this moment. Here in Finland, pretty much every worker can afford to go every day to a lunch buff serving amount and quality food that for vast majority of people was not available even at Christmas dinner. We have access to better quality food than kings and counts did 300 years ago. Not to mention 3,000 or 30,000 years ago. The existence of plastic. We still have people alive now that were around before plastic was even a common thing. Yet it's found itself in every organ in every animal in the world. In the deepest depths of the ocean. It's in your blood, your brain, your heart, your testicles and ovaries. Humans have existed for 200,000 years, and plastic only began being mass-produced in the 1950s. And we still have no problem making this material that never truly decomposes. It's in the water you drink, all of the food you eat. Because it's convenient. For now. It is an existential threat to all life on Earth. Yet no one cares, no one talks about it. All civilizations are destined to eventually fail because humanity can't figure out a perfect form of government. It doesn't even need to be perfect, it just needs to be good enough. We can't even figure that out. Most people are one disaster away from losing everything. Corporations are destroying the environment and the economy. Some money-grubbing CEOs literally kill millions of people every year by making healthcare decisions for them. It doesn't matter how hard you work, you cannot avoid horrible things happening to you. America is not a meritocracy, but a bed of nepotism and cronyism. We're all going to die, nothing we do actually matters, and we'll be forgotten by the 3rd generation as if we were never here. This is all age-old. What's modern is that the human population is so large, we're that much more insignificant as individuals. Just another number, another cog in the machine, a slightly different copy of another. This actually gives me a strange sense of peace. If a magic wand was waved and all carbon emissions went to zero, the climate change ball is too far along to stop. In the next 30 years, about 2 billion people will be displaced due to lethal wet bulb temperatures where you sweat endlessly but can't cool off and just overheat and die. The rise of manipulative conspiracy theories. No one cares about mental health. They say they do, but they don't. Everyone is mean and cruel. The world is evil. Facts. People aren't the mental health advocates they think they are, because real mental health symptoms are actually socially unacceptable. 90 billion animals intensively farmed for meat, eggs, and dairy living in the worst conditions in the history of animal agriculture. I feel the most for animals because they can't advocate for themselves. They are at our mercy, be it from our greed, climate change, destroying their habitat, or just being cruel and abusive. The fact that we are all on our phones all day instead of enjoying our one precious life. Is it though? What's left to be enjoyed? We don't have to have homelessness. We were fooled into believing individual actions can change systems. You can be a thrifty vegan who didn't produce any waste and avoided consuming plastic in the last 10 years. But it's all for nothing if you don't actively fight to change the system. Your own consumption has no global impact whatsoever. A person eating from one-use plastic containers every day, but who organizes and lobbies to change laws is doing way more than you. Also, while we should absolutely continue to try to systemically reduce and rethink our consuming behaviors by changing laws that will fund research new materials and make manufacturing plastics illegal, for example, the time has come to start also preparing for the impending climate disasters. We are past the solution goalpost. We need to save what's possible, while also preparing for what's already coming. There is absolutely an individual action you can take that has a huge effect: have fewer kids. Or better yet, don't have any. Medical malpractice. It's so much more common than most people think. I know so many people who were misdiagnosed, given improper treatment, and even people who died at the hands of doctors who had no business being doctors. How fragile the modern world really is, and how it is starting to crumble around us. That this is probably the downhill side of our civilization. Not a doomsayer, but we are not improving our brains as a species. Since that is our main evolutionary advantage, any loss of function is a loss of that advantage. Between lead and microplastics, and who knows what in the environment, and our lack of emphasis on education and critical thinking worldwide, we stand a real risk of becoming a race of drooling idiots destroying ourselves with our own old technology. Also, we are completely insignificant to the universe. The number of miscarriages that women have when trying to have children. It happens a lot, but nobody talks about it. Men, in particular, are completely clueless. Roughly 1/3 of humans suffer from incontinence. It's a very underdiscussed health condition. What is the darkest reality of the modern world that no one talks about? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.